Namaskar, welcome to another episode of DilSe Stories. We once again have a very special guest, Miss Malvica Chopra. Very welcome.
Is there. Thank you.
Please introduce yourself to our audience.
Well, hi, my name is Malvica Chopra. I'm a sitar player and Indian classical musician. And I've been playing the sitar for the last 16 years. And it's my goal to continue doing this and sharing the beauty of this music with every person who listens to it.
Thank you very much. And I'm Dr. Parag Bharadwaj. The sitar, what drew you to the sitar? There are so many instruments that you could have picked, right? Why the sitar?
Well, so I came in contact with music because I was a very unruly child. And just to tame me a little bit and for me to have a hobby, my mom found a music teacher who also happened to play the sitar. So I lived in the Art of Living ashram in Bangalore for 19 years of my life. And at the time when I was 11, my mom found this music teacher in the ashram. And she told him that my daughter can sing a little bit and she's learned how to play the violin and she can play some Carnatic music. And would you like to listen to her? So I went to him for my classes and I saw that there was a sitar, but I had not really seen an instrument that big and that royal looking before. And on different occasions, I did ask him if he would teach me, and he used to wear this mizrab on his hand. And earlier, I thought it's some sort of deformity, like I was telling you the other day. But upon asking again and again, he said, "Yeah, well, you can't play the sitar. It's huge, and you're too tiny in size, and all of that." But because of that, I think some sort of reverse psychology worked on me. And the more my guru said no, the more I wanted to play the instrument. So then, 3 months of pursuing that, he let me play. He told me how to play the saregama, and I figured out pretty soon. And then he said that, well, you seem to have some potential. Like you could probably do this if you don't want to sing. Yeah, so I picked it up for fun, but within a year of playing, I knew that I would like to do this for the rest of my life. So by 12, I was already dreaming.
Wow, so you had that clarity very early on in your life. And what do you think your teacher saw in you? They said that you could probably pursue this.
Yeah, well, I could sing in tune, and because I did not come from a family of musicians, he was very happy to see that, they say that music is a gift. On some levels, everyone has some amount of, different types of gifts. And for me, I guess it was being in tune. I was able to sing anything back in tune from a very young age. I think even my mom saw that. So when he saw that I'm doing the same with the sitar and picking up the vocal compositions pretty fast, he said, then no, you have a knack for something like this, like the composing ability and things like that.
Very nice. So clearly you're very persistent, and seems
Mm.
like once you make up your mind, you don't give up. Uh, so you, at the age of 12, decided that you had made up your mind that you're going to pursue this further.
Yes,
And sorry, go ahead.
I wrote it down. Sorry, I wrote it down now when I felt that I should be, able to do this. It was out of sheer excitement, actually, that I'm learning something that is so challenging. And while growing up, I think that's who I was as a person. I really like doing things that people say is difficult to do. So then I got really excited about how difficult the sitar is. And my guru said this is one of the most difficult instruments to master. Of course, there's sarangi and there's the violin. Everything is difficult. It has its own. But sitar, somehow, that the sound of it, the difficulty and the pain of playing the sitar, everything made it really I don't know. I was very attracted to the sound and just the challenge it offered. So I went for it.
Yeah, you mentioned reverse psychology, so I'm just trying to
Yeah.
figure out, like you mentioned, when people say that something is difficult to do, that actually seems like a challenge for you to overcome, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so we'll come back to later on as to what are the challenges that because it seems like challenge drives you, right? And now that
Yeah.
you are a musician, you're a professional musician, what is the challenge you see? in your day-to-day, endeavor to become a better musician?
Well, there are two aspects to it. As when I talk about the musicianship, the challenge is to, I think your own mind is your challenge, because you have to have a certain amount of discipline. And since repetition is key in in any kind of music actually, and to perfect an instrument, and to get your creative juices flowing, I think that is a huge challenge. Because sometimes there are days when your mind is so blocked that nothing comes, but you still have to be with your instrument, right? So as a musician, for musicianship, that is a big challenge, which I really like doing, because sometimes even with repetition, you change one small thing about your practice, and then you might just unlock something else, and that really opens up a whole new world. The bigger challenge, though, is, I think, music business, where getting a word around, and I know there is social media and all of that, but since I don't think that's my strong suit. Like, I'm not really great at marketing or sharing about the kind of music I do. So I think for me that is the bigger challenge. Like, how do you do that and that aspect? But I'm very inclined to playing music, so my focus is here right now.
All right. So on at this moment, I'll pause for a little bit and I'll actually share with the audience that I think your music speaks for itself. You shared some of your music, and it is just amazing. The level of creativity is just like mind blowing. So um, you said at times when you know it opens up a lot of avenues for you, right? When you're practicing music. So where does it open up things? Is it in your mind? Is it in your heart, or is it just with the instrument itself?
Mhm. On all those levels. So on a mental level, it is more to do with I practice meditation very regularly, and for me that plays a huge role in opening that dimension, like where I find stillness, that I'm hopefully able to communicate through music also. So that's where I unlock that kind of stillness. On the instrument, well, there are different techniques, and when you keep playing, you keep finding newer ways. So that's the process. And when you experience the flow that these two things bring to your mind, then I think that opens something in your heart, and from there, I think that's when you truly connect with yourself. Like, sometimes while playing, I go into this state of really enjoying what I am playing. It might be something very basic, or something that is very daunting to me while playing, like a difficult tal, or something that I'm scared of attempting. But sometimes just playing that again and again really puts me in a state of certain flow. And I really begin to enjoy that and enjoy what I'm playing. Then nothing else matters. Doesn't matter if anyone is listening to me, one person is listening, or if I'm listening and I'm feeling good, then I find peace there. So that, I think, that's what happens on a heart level.
Wow, it all sounds very profound. Uh,
Thank you.
so, no, but it's very interesting. You mentioned stillness, right? Uh,
Yeah.
and what you've chosen is actually music which disturbs the silence. So it's very interesting, right? So it's sort of like it helps you with your music, but the music does disturb the stillness in a way. And so it's very
But
fascinating. Go ahead. I would like to hear your
right.
thoughts.
Yeah, well, I would say, this is my belief. I could definitely be wrong. But what I strongly believe is that stillness has nothing to do with the external environment of any person. It's something that is deep within. And you could stand in a fish market and still have a very still demeanor and a very centered demeanor. So when I talk about stillness, I think music is that which is actually pleasant to the ear, right? So something that settles the mind, even though it might pierce through that silence that we talk about. Sitting in silence is one thing, and having something that is pleasant to the ear to calm your mind down is another thing. You could be alone on a mountain, but be highly disturbed because there is so much volume of thought. And that is more disturbing than probably having something that calms down and, stops stirring that pot in your head and then puts you in that state. So I
Wow.
think music has that power.
I'm glad
It's
I
like
asked you that.
alum.
I'm
Yeah.
glad I asked, and thanks for clarifying that. So, coming back to your journey since the age of 12, so you made up your mind to become a professional sitarist. Tell us about how things progress from there.
Well, it has not been easy. It sounds, I mean, it feels great when I look back and say that, okay, about 16 years ago, I started on a journey and everything's going great. So, in retrospect, it seems like a very short period of time, but living through that every day, it's been very beautiful, but also challenging because coming from a family of non-musicians, you don't have that kind of exposure to music all the time. Something which is very important as a classical musician, because people who are born to musician families are exposed to that kind of music before their birth also. I mean, there's some sort of influence, and when they're born, they're listening to that music. So subconsciously, it is getting into their, very being. But for someone like me, that started really late. I think by the time I started playing, a lot of people would have actually been, child prodigies and musicians. So that was something that I had to constantly keep in mind, that I must practice enough to be able to, do justice to what I have picked up. Not like competition, but more like, do I have it in me to still get musical and be on that stage and not feel that I have not done enough. Like nobody should be able to question that. So I kept that in mind always. I still practice with the same thought and intent. So that is fun, but that is also, it's difficult to stick on and stay persistent with that. So I talk myself into it every day.
Very nice.
That, yeah.
So when you went to college, what did you study? What did you study music?
I studied. I went to Lady Shri Ram College in Delhi University, and I studied. I took up philosophy, thinking that it would give me time for Riyaz because I had great marks in 12th, and my family was all set. Ki, you take economics and just go down that road. And I'd scored 100 on 100 in economics, and I had 96%.
Wow.
So बहुत colleges में I got admission. But then I thought I'll go for philosophy and maybe that will complement my music also. And I took it up. But turns out that philosophy is not easy and I had to study a lot. But I took my sitar with me to hostel in Delhi and I would practice there also. At least 3 hours I would practice every day in college. But that was fun because I also had a lot of good memories with college and studying. And I also had my sitar always.
Wow. 3 hours out of your day during college life. It requires a lot of discipline.
So you just have to tell yourself that I have to do
Yeah.
it. I would run
Yeah.
back from classes actually if we had 2 hours in between, because you don't have lecture after lecture in degree level, things are different. So I would run back, and if I had 2 hours, I would sit for 1.5 hours, and then I would sit again 1.5 hours after classes in the evening. So I would ask my friends to leave the room also because we used to share rooms, like two of us in a room. And then I would request, and my roommate would very happily oblige. And once I got comfortable with her presence, then I would be like, fine, you can sit in because. So there's been a lot of people who have helped me through this.
Great.
And still are. Yeah.
Great. So yeah, that explains why your thoughts are so deep as you're answering my questions. So, and what about after completing your college, after studying philosophy, what did you pursue in terms of music?
Well, so the day college ended in 2017 May, I graduated, and then it dawned on me on that last week of college, I was like, oh my God, this is getting serious now. What's my plan? Because I did not want to study any further, and I was very sure that I want to take up music professionally. So I told my mom, I told my family, and then they said, well, then you can come back to Bangalore and practice. And I was learning in Bangalore at the time. So I went back to Bangalore and I made this whole chart for myself that I would wake up 4 in the morning and I would practice. And I had this whole routine until 2021 from 2017 that I would practice throughout the day, like in different pockets, but at least get in 8 to 10 hours of practice. That was that was a very intense period. And when COVID hit, I had even more time to sit with myself, and there was complete isolation. So I used that time to practice a lot, I think, but it's never enough practice, right? I still sometimes feel that I have still a lot to accomplish and practice. And it's a very long journey, it truly is. But my whole plan was ki abhi practice karenge, and whenever I get a show, I will go for it. My mom taught me one thing, that never play for shows. Like, you practice because you want to be a good sitar player. And if someone calls you, then that is fine. Otherwise, you can eat food at a temple or gurudwara, you'll get a free meal twice a day. So my mom told me this very clearly when I came back to Bangalore. And I still have that in mind. So
Got it. And I believe you came to the US, right?
yes, that was in 2021.
Okay. And what did you study there?
So I studied music composition and performance, a degree in, it's called a performer composer degree by the California Institute of Arts in LA. So yeah, when COVID was almost about ending and things were getting back to normal, just before that period, I decided that if I want to be a musician, I would like to learn more about how collaborations are done. And I was really interested and very inspired by what Anushka Shankar also does, because she has this whole classical background and she's playing all kinds of music on the world stage. So for myself, I saw a dream. I mean, I still see that dream, that maybe I would like to play with all kinds of musicians, but probably invite them to play our music, and see how that goes. So that there are different pockets of people that we are able to reach. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Yeah,
Okay.
we're good.
Yeah. So
Go
yeah.
ahead.
So when I thought about that, I studied different universities, and I was like, okay, what's a good fit? Then I got into Berklee College of Music. In They opened a New York campus at the time, so I got in there for a master's program. But then I saw that California Institute of Arts has a better world music program, and that there's more freedom, as in you get to decide what you want to do there, and you just have all the resources for it. So I went there, studied for 2 years, made a lot of friends, made a lot of music, learned a lot about how staff notation works, what Western music is, the form, and things that are enough to complement my journey. I'm not straying away from what I do, but just to know how other things work, help you have different ideas and grow in different ways. So I did that, but I always knew I want to be in India again and just travel to the US as a musician. So I made up my mind, came back here, and now I'm performing and releasing music. At least once in 3 months, I'm releasing music.
Very nice. How did you find, like, when you came to Los Angeles and you got to meet different artists and you got to learn more about Western music? What makes Indian music unique? Or is there something that makes it unique?
Yes, I think, although I would say this for all music, but what I definitely know for Indian music is it is not for entertainment, but it is for enlightenment. As in, if I put that in Hindi, it would say, "Ye manoranjan ke liye nahi, atma ranjan ke liye hai." It's a very famous line that talks about this. And I think that is very true for this kind of music. The more you practice it, it has changed me as a person, because of this. I keep using the word stillness because I think that is my biggest takeaway from this music, that it makes me very still and makes me very grounded. And it also adds a fourth dimension to my being. I mean, or I don't know, so many dimensions to a human being, right? But it has definitely added another one with a lot of depth, because it makes you think and it makes you contemplate, and it is not to see how much it's going to excite the listener, but the purpose of playing this music is also to calm the listener down and have that kind of an effect. So that's what makes it really different. It's not to make you dance, or it's to make your soul dance with happiness. That's how I think of it.
Very nice. And then what about the sitar? What makes the sitar unique?
Star is unique. Well, for me, it's the sound. And that's true for every instrument, but just the way this is built. I mean, I was very fascinated by it. ये Kadu hai, like with the pumpkin ka shell, you have this whole instrument, pumpkin and wood and some strings, and it's creating all kinds of magic. So for me, it was that. And I think because it's a stringed instrument and you have this technique of mean, where you're able to emulate the musical, notes and a vocalist's phrasing by bending the notes. I think that's very beautiful, beautifully done on the sitar. It's very difficult to do. It has to be really precise, but that makes it very beautiful. When you get it right, the whole instrument sings with you. Feels very connected.
Thank you. And it's truly a pumpkin, huh? I didn't know that.
It is the bottom part of it is a pumpkin.
I did not know that. So thanks for enlightening. And you use the word bending the note, right?
Yeah.
And it is amazing. That makes sense. I've heard some artists do that, especially more so with the sitar, and it's very pleasant to listen to. Yeah. And I think if I remember right, the one piece I really enjoy listening to, which I do often, is Ahilya, and you've done that in there as well. So yeah, I would definitely suggest to our listeners to check out the music. And you said you're on a journey to be releasing more music as well, right, in the near future.
Yes.
So
It's
looking
all
forward.
with my friend.
No, go
Yeah.
ahead.
So sorry. Well, I just want to mention that my friend who worked with me on this track. I have to give a shout out to him because I am not a producer, but I know what I want and I compose the whole thing. But it is all thanks to my friend Pranav, who has worked on both my tracks, which have released so far, and the upcoming one. That he's able to understand and put in his little magic in there to make it sound so good. Be it Ahilya or be it Samsara or the next upcoming one.
Yeah, it takes more than one person, right, to come up with something like that. And it's good to have somebody who is on the same wavelength as you, is what I understand.
Yeah.
So what can we expect from you in the future? Of course, the releases, but what kind of music are we talking about?
Well, as I am building a body of work right now, the kind of music or compositions that I have lined up are mostly instrumental in nature. And they are based on ragas because I feel that every raga is very potent and has its own purpose, its own time, and its own personality. It is what we are taught while growing up. And as I realize that more and more, the kind of music that I want to do is rag based short compositions that people can listen to, just in their downtime while doing yoga or, early in the morning or whenever they seek peace. That's the kind of music I'm looking to do. And in collaboration with different instrumentalists, like I had a harp player, a very amazing harp player from Turkey, who played on my last track, Samsara. And in the upcoming one, I might add a piano, and I don't know. So it all depends on where the collaboration is taking you. But the idea is to get in that state of flow and make music for mental peace.
All right. So now actually we might take this conversation into greater depths. You mentioned the state of flow,
Yeah.
which I'm fascinated by. So uh, tell me a little bit about your outlook at, you playing the sitar and how it gets you in the state of flow.
So it's not something that comes very easily or happens to me all the time. But there have been instances that while practicing, how I see a state of flow is that when you are not in your own way, and then you become an instrument yourself for certain things to happen. And while practicing, I notice this quite a bit, that when I'm not conscious that nobody's listening to me, so I can play whatever is coming to mind. At that time, sometimes it just takes you to a place where effortlessly music is just happening through you and you are just enjoying your own performance. More than performance, I think something inside is lighting up, and in that heightened state of just, there's no word for it, but bliss would be would cut it close. Like it feels like that. And it continues to feel like that even after I keep my sitar. Unless someone starts talking to me, then until then that space has been created and it stays with me. And then it lasts throughout the day also. It feels like a big expansion. Um, that is flow. Effortlessness, things just coming through, and like my instrument is allowing me to play it. I feel something, I'm allowing something to play through me. So the goal is to become an instrument myself. When I
Fascinating.
think like that,
Yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
I have to commend you on your clarity of thought. You know, I think you're very spontaneous with your responses. I thought I asked you a few, you know, maybe perhaps offbeat or challenging questions, but I was surprised how quickly you were able to respond to them.
Wow.
Because I would have had to give it some thought if I were able to be put in your shoes. So it's amazing. It seems like your relationship with music is more than just playing an instrument. It, like you said, it brings in various dimensions to add to your personality.
Right. I think, sorry, can you say that again? The bell just rang.
I said,
Can I just,
yeah,
can I just open the door? I'm very
sure,
sorry.
sure,
This was not expected.
sure.
Just something.
All right, so welcome back.
Yes,
So
sorry.
yeah, so before we wind down this interview, any final thoughts you want to share?
Yeah, well, I would say that more than being connected to anything, I mean, for me, it's my instrument. For someone, it could be something else. We all have our own different instruments. But I think the most important thing is to be connected to yourself. And if that connection is in place, I think whatever you do, there will be heart and soul in it. So those are my only parting thoughts. That find a way to connect with yourself.
Very inspiring words to end this interview with. I really wish
Thank you.
you the best of luck on behalf of our audience, and we hope to have you back as you release. Your, I mean, are they called tracks?
My next single, yeah, it's an upcoming
Yes, yeah.
single.
Yeah. So, if you don't mind, we'd love to have you come and share with us how you created those singles and what was the effort put into it, and what was the thought that generated the creation of the single.
I would love to.
So with that, thank you so much, and we look forward to talking to you again in the future.
Yes, I look forward to talking to you again. Thank you.
Namaskar.
Namaskar.